Kaboom. Okay. Um, I am now recording.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, hello. We just watched episode one of Yu Hakusho, and I think that's how you say it, right? That's how they say it. So
Yeah, it's Yu
Yu
Hakusho.
Hakusho.
What?
So the surprise to be dead. Some the yeah, it just begins with him being run over by a car.
Right, which
Um,
is extremely surprising for anything.
for
Usually
a new
they
person.
don't.
Like, whoa. It's like what? And then it gives a way to do exposition into um, what he's doing that day, which lets you get to introduce characters that are in his life, and it shows the opposite reactions to how he was alive to how he's dead. It's it's very cleverly, like, they don't waste any time. You feel like there's a lot there for very little time because they can't waste it. So they get out all the information they have without wasting that time. I know I said that a lot, but this is what the show does very well. Um, when it's at its best, it just gives you the information while still giving the character and the emotion all in a tight little conversation, no matter how small. Uh, so he gets hit and he starts to remember what happened that day. He's like, "Yeah, it's a weird day. I went to school. Like, it's weird that a student, 14-year-old boy, goes to school. It should give you um a viewpoint into his life that he doesn't like to go to school, which is like every student probably, every
Right,
kid.
that's like
But
almost every student.
this
They
guy
hate
chooses
going to
not to
school.
go to school. I'm like, oh, so he decided to go one day just because he wanted to. I'm like, okay. Um, and he just hangs out on the roof. Like, then why bother coming? You know, it's sort of like, I think Keiko sort of brings that up. Oh yeah, Keiko is the her his only friend.
Yeah,
Um, because
yeah.
it,
His friend since childhood, I think.
yes, but we don't know that until there's a Toguro flashback where in the middle of the fight he's losing to Toguro and he remembers, um, and in this like trance of losing everybody, you get to see his past life, and then like you don't get to escape from me, Yusuke. You know, like, oh jeez, like it's a very horrific scene. But yeah, they've been. That's a bit of a spoiler, but I don't care. It's a breakdown. That's the thing though. You have to reference future things so it stays in continuity. So that's a good thing. And so
Yeah,
yeah, it's mentioned later on by Keiko's friends that Yusuke doesn't have many friends.
yeah.
I mean, she could be saying that like she doesn't want to think that she's his only friend, but I think it's true. She's trying to be optimistic for him, even though before he sexually assaulted her. um,
You mean by lifting up her school
yeah,
uniform?
uniforms like, oh, it's like, I want to see your butt. I'm like, yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he's 14, and like and apparently like Japanese make uniforms where it's easy to do that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, a Japanese person wrote it, and they're much less stressful about that. But it makes sense in any context because he's a young man. He's growing up. He has the hormones. It makes sense that he would do something like that. and it shows his lack of tact um, when it comes to social situations. He and it shows like he wears green because it's his favorite color. Um, every other uniform is blue. It's like a light blue. It's not even a cool bar wears a bright blue uniform, so he's not in the right uniform.
Well, especially that they'll elaborate
hmm
later. I think is that I think both Yusuke and Kuwabara go to two different schools.
I believe they go to the same school because later on, um, which is kind of interesting because you never see him at the school until later on in the series where he has to borrow notes from Keiko
Mm,
and he's looking for Yusuke. He's like, I need to, hey Keiko, have you seen Yusuke? And like, I need to borrow some math notes. And so apparently they go to the same school because they go to Sariaski Junior High,
mm,
which I remember because he mentions it all the time. He's like, I'm the number one ruffian at Sariaski Junior High, and Yusuke is like, I'm the actual number one thug at Sariaski Junior High. So they do go to the same school. You just never see him there at the time.
that's yeah, that's right.
No, it's fine. Um, and though it's so like they hear rumors about him being a gang leader, and it's like I said, it's kind of like a Twitter conversation. It's like there's a person
Right.
who knows the truth, and then two other people that are like arguing against it. Like, so it's like he can't even whistle. Like he can't. He barely knows how. He doesn't have many friends, so he can't really order people around. You know, he doesn't have that much
Right.
skills. You know, or anything like that. And they're like, I was like, yeah, whatever. We know more than you, friend of Yusuke's. like, like, okay, sure. But that's just how rumors are in school. Like, he orders around like thousands of men, and they'll kill you on sight. So apparently, like, he's a ruffian. This tells you everything about him. Like, he has a bad reputation because he doesn't go to school. You know, he apparently beats up people.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure it's all justified in some way because when when that guy takes someone else's wallet and says, "I'm Yusuke's cousin," and um, Yusuke's cousin, he says like, "I bet he'd believe it since he's such a blockhead," and then Yusuke's right behind him, and they get freaked out. He puts his arm. He's like, "You think I want your freaking money?" Like, I don't care. Like, he has a reputation. It shows how selfish he is. He's kind of self-absorbed, but also he has a line to be crossed
Yeah.
because of his aggressive behavior. It seems like he just punches people on sight, but that's not really true. You have to offend him in some way. Hmm. It's so let's see. He just and then you get one of the teachers who's like punches him in the face. No wait, you know what? He doesn't punch him in the face. That happens later. Oops, spoilers. He says, "Don't lie," and he punches him in the face. And I'm like, dude, why? I'm gonna mention this later on, but these two teachers should be fired. Like, they should be out of a job. I mean, they shouldn't be able to get a job after that. Like, dude, these two adults hit kids in front of other people.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? But any case, it really shows the world is against him from this point of view of Yusuke Urameshi, and in somewhat he's right. like, but in somewhat he's definitely wrong because he's too self-absorbed in his own problems.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yusuke, that's the thing is absorbed in his own problems. That's the one thing about him that's you know
Mm,
so just outlandish in a way, if you want to call it that. So,
outlandish.
uh,
The
like I said,
which part?
just say like how his attitude. All
Oh,
that.
you mean he's so self-absorbed it's outlandish? Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think it
Uh,
makes sense since
yeah.
as we know he goes home early. Actually, no, wait, I skipped the scene. This tells a lot more about the other characters around him because his principal shows up. Is like, I've been on the PA for a while, and you hear that in the background sometimes. And then he says, like, doesn't that guy know when to give up? And he goes on, and then he finds Yusuke and stops him from eating a hard candy or something. And he's like, okay, whoever did that is dead. He's like, oh, it's you, old man, or something. Because he doesn't call people by their names.
Now Yusuke's got his own nickname for
Old man,
mostly everybody.
old
Yeah,
man. And
for
he's like,
mostly
that's
everybody.
Mr. Takanada to you. And it gives him an excuse to tell him about what Yusuke does. Like he barely comes to school. He doesn't go to classes. He just hangs around. He's sort of again it reinforces that self-absorbed. Like this is not a good person that we are learning about. And so
Now, if
far,
anything, yeah, because
yeah,
you could almost say that Yusuke's just like a school dropout is what he
yes.
is.
Not only a school dropout, but a guy who's too aggressive for his own good.
Yes.
And and so with the fake ear, which I was the fake ear. I'm probably nitpicking, but how did he? I guess he just has a fake ear around. Like I guess he just wears it. Like
Possible,
what?
possibly
Just in
because
case this principal decides, you know what? Someone's gonna tug me by the ear one day. I gotta
well, it's
make sure of
possible
a fake one.
it's possible they, you know, my thought is that they just don't go into much into the detail, but my
Mm.
thought is it's possible that he's been yanked by the principal a couple of
Oh,
numerous of times, so he
oh,
finally wised up and decided to make like a phony ear for next time it is that yeah he ever gets yanked by the
oh!
ear.
I see. Yeah, I mean it is a nit. I mean, okay. I want to classify what a nitpick is. A nitpick is small, but is technically correct. So, for example, a nitpick of Lord of the Rings is that there's a car in the back where Sam says like I'm not gonna go in. This would be the furthest I've ever been from the Shire, and there's a car in the background. Yeah, I mean it's really far away, but they brushed it out later. That'd be a nitpick. That's a problem with the film, but it's very small and it's not very noticeable. But it's technically there. This is what this is. He just has an ear, a fake ear, and he gets away. And he's like, you need the. And Yusuke's like, you need to relax, lol. And he just runs home. And then we know why he's this way, really, when we get to his home. His mom is laying in bed in her PJs on the floor and is smoking, watching TV. And Yusuke comes in. He's like, oh, look, Mom of the Year. I'm like, wow. Like, this explains a lot.
Yeah.
There's no father. It's an unbalanced household. They're probably poor. This is why he's a rebel. Because there's no sense of responsibility to teach him. You know, there's no father figure
Yeah.
to teach him responsibility. And since there's no father at home, and the mother is sort of a drunk deadbeat, which we know later on she is. She's a lush,
Yeah.
and which means adults think they know what they're talking about, but really they're just as irresponsible as kids are. So why should I listen to them? And yeah, that it just makes sense that why he acts this way. And so she gives him a lecture, which is like, I don't want a lecture from somebody who is worse off than I am. Like,
Right.
it's like, oof. And he's like, if you don't want to hear a lecture, then maybe you should, drop out. I mean, I should start. She tells him to get a job if you're not going to go to school. And here's the thing, she's technically correct. Like, if you're not going to go to school, get a job, make some money,
Right.
put food on the table.
Right.
Don't be a
Right.
slacker. And he's like, you're a slacker. Is his response. And he's like, you're like, it's in the middle of the day. You're still in your PJs.
Right.
At least I got dressed. Like, and went outside. Like, so why? And so he's out of there too because he doesn't want to be lectured anymore by adults. Because his picture of adults is they don't know what they're doing. And that makes sense. And he's like, today you get any stupider. He's just at his limit. He doesn't care if anybody knows he's angry. He must fight a lot too because people know to stay away.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing. I don't think they ever go into the details about it, but my guess is he's been a bit of a fighter for
Yeah,
several years.
he
of
fights
his
gangs apparently. He's a one-man wrecking crew.
life. Basically, so yes.
And then the one of the best characters in the show up, and they made a meme out of this entrance, which is very good. It's like, you're a Meshi. It's like, hey Kubar, you're conscious. I'm not used to that. And he's like, sorry, you messed me in a bad
The
mood.
appearance of the appearance of Kuwabara.
Kubar is
man.
awesome. We don't know that yet, but he's just a standard rival character as far as we know. As far as the audience
Right.
knows, I mean.
Right,
But
school rivals.
We know better.
So,
And so he's like, he gets his, Kuwabar gets his butt kicked. It's not even close. He never get to punch in. He just kicks the crap out of him. And the rest of them are like, no, no thank you.
yeah, it's so
Like-
funny. Yusuke's outnumbered 4-1. Yet,
I think, yeah, 4-1. But Kuwabara, it wants to face
yeah,
him alone, I
Kuwabara's
guess.
the only- yeah, it's like the others are there just as a wall, but
He's like, no, man, we're cool. He's like, he did just like 174 losses in a row. I'm like, and 0 wins.
right.
And I'm like, what? And they're like, maybe you should stop it. And he's like, no, I almost had him. No. He's very delusional. He never gives up. He is
Right.
determined.
Right. Yeah.
That's all we know.
Yeah, because again with the introduction of Kuwabara, it's just a brief moment that you see him how he's not afraid of Yusuke at all. You can see he's not afraid. But,
yeah, it's true. He walks up to him and he like calls him out.
right.
Like, I'm not afraid to get beat up again. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's just so funny how he just gets his rear end handed to him
Again and again.
practically immediately into the introduction. Oh no!
Yeah.
No punches, no nothing. Just automatically just gets it.
He gets his head like pushed into the well, not in the dirt, but into the pavement.
Into the concrete.
He's like,
the pavement.
He was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like you. And he takes his off frustration out on him. He's like, "Yeah, I feel better." Yusuke's like, "I feel better since beating you up. Thank you very much."
Right. It's just he's like if Yusuke is angry about something, he just uses Kuwabara as his punching bag.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, he. I mean, if he didn't show up, he. I don't. It's sort of funny if Coolbar didn't show up. I don't think he would have saved the kid because he wouldn't be in a
Yeah.
cooler mood.
Right.
So everything has like, oh my gosh. When you stop to think about it, everything almost has a narrative purpose. Uh, and then he meets a kid with a soccer ball, and this kid is playing, or I should say, football because that's what it is over there, you know.
Right.
But I'm gonna call it soccer because I'm a dumb American. And so and he's like, he picks up the ball because it comes up near him, and he's like, "Listen, kid, like you get run over if you kicked it in the street." And he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to do that at all.
Right.
He could have just said like, here's the ball,
Right.
go on.
Right. Exactly.
He apparently he's not too self-absorbed to help out a little kid. And then and the kid is like, "What?" Like what? Huh? Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, the boy's got to be what, like three
Yeah,
or four
he
years old, something like that.
yeah, he's like in a daze. He could be
Yeah.
like 6 or 5 or something. I think it's probably 5. Where's his
Probably at
parents?
least.
Where's his mom?
Yeah.
Like, where's that mom that was concerned afterwards?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I guess he just got away and decided, hey, we're in a park, probably, and decided to play some soccer. Oh, my ears are bleeding. Anyways, the let's see. So he makes the kid laugh by dancing like an idiot and being a
Right.
monster.
Make it. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, making faces and just do all sorts of like goofy little gags and stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that.
has chopsticks apparently. Gotta know where he got those. And so he puts them in between his teeth, and he's like, no, 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 no. He's like, stuff like that. And it
Yeah.
makes him happy, and he's like, well, that made me feel better because I made a kid laugh. It's like, okay. And again, I think that's connecting to the part of making sure the kid is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kid kicks the. Oh yeah, before that he's like he still plays with it. The kid just didn't listen because that's how kids are, you know. They'll just ignore advice.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the stove example. It's like don't touch the stove; it could burn you, and then they touch it and it does nothing, so they think that the adult is lying. You know, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not happened to me yet. La 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 la. He's like, Yusuke's like, dang it, what's the use? So he kicks the ball in the street. This kid, and well, there comes this car at fast speed, and Yusuke dives in the way. Tries to yell at him to watch out, but it's too late. His instincts take over
Yeah.
because he is. I don't know if he did it to be nice or it's just human instinct to protect children. Like,
It's possible that it's just instinct.
mm-hmm, absolutely, he didn't want the kid to be hurt. Nonetheless,
Right.
it's it kind of reminds me of when the first time Sasuke facing that kid full of mirrors, and he gets in the way of Naruto being stabbed. He's like, "Why did I do that?" Like, it was just instinct, you know. Uh, but you know, something like that. Yeah, and so he gets hit by the car, and that's how he becomes the ghost. And he's like, "I must be a ghost since I'm up here and they're down there." You know, I see myself down there. and I'm up here. And he even tries to punch the paramedics. It doesn't work out. He can't interact with
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. Because that's when he finds before he finds out that he's a ghost. That
Hmm.
he's looking at
Yeah.
himself on the ground and turns to tell the paramedics, "Hey, you idiots!
Hey, you idiots! I'm
I'm
right
right
here.
by." Yeah,
Don't touch my body, jerks.
right, right, right.
And
Tries.
well, I know that, but I just want to get that. He's piecing it all together. Now, in real time, that probably lasted like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
That whole explanation.
right.
Then you get Botan shows up, and it's like this blue-haired Grim Reaper. The um, and she rides an oar because she's a pilot of the River Styx, like a boat oar. If anyone doesn't know what an oar is, there's Google. You know, it's what you use to steer a boat, or you can't use not a ship, a boat. Remember Titanic and the lifeboats. Anyways, the and so they have this conversation about him being dead, and how like people in charge, I know what they're talking about. And so she's like, I know exactly who you are. You're in my guidebook, and like you're this personality because people take death in different ways, and so it's good to have like a guidebook.
Hmm.
Man, sorry, my ears are just there. All this air pressure.
Mm.
Anyways, the and it's like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. It's like he still denies not being a ghost, though. He doesn't deny being a ghost because he can't deny full reality, but he denies that she knows what she's talking about
Hmm.
or whatever. And so they go to see the kid, and the kid's fine. He's like, okay, take me to hell, you know. And she starts to laugh. She's like, why is that so funny? Because well, it is kind of funny because that's what you would expect him to go. He was a bad person. I don't think he would go to limbo, but yeah, um, he would definitely it wouldn't be good. So, but he's like, no, 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 no. Like, you were not supposed to save that kid. We're gonna have you an ordeal to get your life back. Ow. Mm, sorry. Um, my left side of my ear is just hurting a lot. The it's it's I'll try to cut that out. Probably not. That's right. You get to hear about my ear problems. I probably need some water or something. I don't know. Like, come back, water. Why don't you tell them about the how was Death of the Waste?
Without it, well, yeah. At first, Yusuke thinks that just because, um, you know, of
Mm-hmm.
all the ruckus and all the problems that he's created throughout the years, that it's no big deal. That most likely enough, with him being gone, everything will be better, even without him.
Mm.
Uh, but that's when Botan kind of shows him a little bit of the way, a little bit by just kind of nudging at him, being like, "You'd be surprised."
Mm-hmm.
So
And
so
then
transitioning so
the
transitioning from day to night for a funeral for Yusuke,
yep,
find out that it's just the opposite,
yeah,
if
it's a
anything.
wake, I should say. Um,
Yeah.
it's like, but it's before the funeral. It's like what do you call? Excuse me. The uh the it's not a wake, but a um not funeral services, but it's like what you do before the funeral. Visitation.
Right.
That's what it is. Vegetation. Not I said
Right.
vegetation. That's right.
Yeah. A visitation.
They'll
Yeah.
come to the funeral home, farmers, and they grow crops. Vegetation. No, I
Jeez.
mean visitation. That's what it is.
Yes.
And so, but they call it a wake. I'm like, okay, that makes sense too. Um, but even before that, it's like he was supposed to live, and they give him an ordeal in order to give his life back. That's why it's, um, and he was ready to die, but now he's like, well, if I wasn't supposed to die, I'll just stay here and haunt people. You know, it'd be fine being a ghost because he's self-centered still. He thinks he knows best.
Yeah.
But Botan being like, I don't think you do. I mean, so I'll wait to make your decision. And he's like, I already made my decision. What are you talking about? Because he's rash. He is he's very impulsive.
Very impulsive.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
one of his weaknesses. And so he goes to the wake, reappears, which is kind of funny because he can't disappear. Like so, it's like it's a style choice. I'm like, okay, sure. He's like, wee, I'm a ghost. And so he goes to the wake, and everybody's like in a standard mood. There's like mambering around, you know, and then some of them
Hmm.
are laughing, and he's like, oh, of course. And there's some people from the school. They're probably made to come here for extra credit, which I thought that was funny. Imagine
Yeah.
if like you went in the next day. So what did you learn on the wake field trip? It's got to be 100 words. You could use double spacing. Um, and I'm like okay. And after credit report of a wake for extra credit. And so I was going to say Yukina, but that's not right. That's a different
You're,
character.
you're talking about
Keiko.
Keiko.
Yeah, like I don't know why I forgot the name. Keiko comes out and she's bawling her eyes out. And of course, like, oh, that makes sense, but I didn't know she would make that much racket for me.
Right.
Like, oh, wow, this. And he, he doesn't know what he's in for, but this is just a taste of it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then.
And then the surprise appearance.
Kuwabara!
Yep. Yep.
And
Kuwabara with two of his buddies.
I thought it was three of his
Which
buddies. Is it
two
two?
of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
The
two of them.
woman's like, you guys can go. It's fine. uh, yeah. He shows up with two of his buddies, and they're trying to drag him out. Even as he's
Yeah.
walking there, he's still like, don't do this. And he's like, he's upset because he can't fight him anymore.
Right.
But that's oversimplification of the scene. So the he he's being dragged against these two friends because he's making a racket. He's really upset. Even Yusuke is like, who a bar? What the heck is he doing here?
Yeah.
And
That was a huge shock to Yusuke with Kuwabara showing up.
yeah, because like it, you beat the crap out of him. Why would he show up?
Right.
Like, and so it's like he's so upset because like, in his own words, like you were supposed to be here for me. You know, it's he actually did care about him being here, and maybe not just the fight. Maybe there's something else there. Again, showing off the sort of Naruto Sasuke thing. where it's like they're rivals, but they're glad that each other is there. Like,
Yeah.
and so, and they drag him away, and a little bit of a comedy in there. They have like, sorry about this, folks, and they go, oh, he's being dragged away. I'm like, but still, it's still a really, the voice actor for Kuwabara is a legend. Um, he sells it all. The comedy of it, the sadness of it, and the way he just being dragged away by his
Mm.
arms, and and it put it all in there, and it's all seems authentic. It doesn't take you out of the it doesn't take me out of the story at all. It doesn't seem out of place.
Mm-mm.
Um, I've and then the mom who was seemed like in the Malaysia of nothingness, you know, is it just starts bawling her eyes out, you know,
Yeah.
and then it's like wow, I can't. This woman who didn't seem to care for her son on the outside did really care. It's just you don't really know what you have until it's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's and that's kind of what Yusuke is going through. And
Right. Right. Very much. Very much so with Yusuke.
and um and then you have the two when Kuwabara leaves, of course, not just the mom but the two teachers, and they're like, I bet he was trying to take his lunch money when we tried to take that kid. You know, he finally did something right by dying for a good cause. He gave our school a
Right.
good reputation.
Right.
Like, wow, these people are so like not nasty. That's they're almost evil. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, you're so douchey. Like,
Oh yeah, they're just guys just looking to do whatever they can to get ahead, but in a cheap,
the,
cheap manner.
get ahead by any means necessary. Especially when it
Yep.
comes to the school, because the more school has a good reputation, the more they get paid.
Right.
And so, like, yay! And the principal, like, does the same hand gesture as putting the arm on the shoulder as Yusuke did, even though they can't feel it. And he's like, what's more moronic? That that kid's whining, or your insensitive words? He's like, ooh, he got you good. Like,
Yes.
it's like, ooh, that's so satisfying.
Yes.
Like, the emotional catharsis of that moment. Um, and then he's like, he starts to have an emotional moment of his own where he prays to the mother, and then, well, not prays to the mother, but like, um, when they bow, it's respect, you know.
Yeah.
Where and then he's like, "Why didn't you just stay?" That's why I wanted you around, not just you could have made something better of yourself. And I think he saw something in him. I don't know if it's personal or not, or if it's just a general way of every student, where it's like I wanted to help the people who maybe he saw of him, and maybe he was like that. Maybe he was poor.
Maybe so.
I
Maybe
don't know,
so.
but there's something that he saw personally. And man, and then when he walks out, and the kid and the mother, and I'm I'm losing it. I'm even more because they got it. It's like, what are you trying to do to me, show? Like, are you trying to ruin my day?
Yeah.
They got it. Um, and it's a very emotional, not just scene, but episode in general.
Yeah.
Even though it's a battle shonen show, it gets you hooked because this is a very um, character driven show, and it shows in the writing of,
Hmm.
especially in this episode. It's like if if what are the battles like? If this is what the non-battles
Mm-hmm.
are they going to put as much detail into it as just these scenes? And of course, it's after all that, the little kid is like was confused about the funeral.
Yeah, because he doesn't understand what's going on or what's going on
Yeah,
around
apparently
him.
the mother is
So,
inconsiderate again. Like what do you tell them? Like I don't know.
mm-hmm.
I guess or give some kind of explanation. It's sort of like where do babies come from? Storks. Like when did that kid come up? Like because he's paralyzed. I don't know. Like something. But anyways, um, and he goes over in his head about what he saw in the wake, and it shows the cleverness of Botan, the Grim Reaper. She shows up right after,
Mm-hmm.
and so and he's like, and she takes advantage of his emotional situation to go through the ordeal, and it's kind of interesting how like she is kind of interested in this case. This one person, I don't know why. I guess it's rare that this happens.
Yeah.
Like so rare that's like, ooh, I've never seen this before or something. Who knows? But she definitely wants to help Yusuke, even though she is manipulating him right now to do the test. And she's like, as soon as he says like yes, he's like, we're off. You're not changing your mind. Like, and they go off to the spirit world, and that leads to the next episode, which we have not done yet. And so that's Surprise to Be
Right.
Dead. I think that's a very good starter episode. It took
It
two
is. It's a
episodes for
very.
Goku to die. So it's like, um, oh man, it just tells you so much about Yusuke as a character,
Yeah.
and how there's much to improve on. Him personally. I mean,
Yeah.
is because if there is nothing to improve on, then why do they show you all that stuff? You know, it gets you hooked somewhat. You want
Mm-hmm.
to see what's coming up next. Um, if you were to watch this, would you say it was a battle, like a, a fighting and anime with powers? I don't think I would.
Overall,
I don't know. It's hard to
overall in
tell.
general, yeah.
I have to think to myself, like, what do people like? If you didn't know, if you didn't see the opening, because the opening kind of spoils it. Like, yeah, it's about fighting.
Slightly, yeah.
Like, but it's like if you didn't, I wonder if people would be like, "That's kind of interesting." I guess. What was with that fighting stuff though? In the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
um, I can't think of any real big weaknesses with the episode. It's pretty strong when it comes
Yeah.
to how consistent it is. Of course, it's the first episode. You can't really be inconsistent with yourself with the first episode unless
Mm-hmm.
it's very deliberate. um, the narrator being someone in the future, but all will be revealed. Um, I can't. Yeah, it would have to be like episodes later on where it's like this seems inconsistent with past episodes.
Yeah, indeed.
Because I remember some episodes being inconsistent or some history and stuff, but that would take a long time to go over. But this is the first episode. It's really strong when it comes to itself.
Yeah.
Would people be hooked? I don't know. It depends on what you like. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's the thing about them being childhood friends, Keiko and Yusuke. I think they have a little bit of a romantic relationship from the first episode. I don't know if you could pull that, but it's something I see because I've seen the whole series. But I don't know if the newcomer would be that way. I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to. I am really grasping for anything negative about the first episode. Like, I'm not trying to look for it. I'm just be like,
Right.
I'm trying to go over it. Like, I want to break it down, but it's so tight,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, Botan being interested in this case because it's rare is a little bit iffy, but maybe that's her character is being nice to her people she brings in.
Yeah.
Um, so this while this, you know how many people die a day though?
Oh, hundreds, if
It,
not near
yeah, it's like 100,000 or
thousands.
something, and it's
Yeah.
like how does she do it while she has Yusuke? Like, I don't. I mean, there's more. We know later on that there's more than one of
Right.
these people, but you can only take one at a time. That would take
Hmm.
forever. And there's not that many people there at the working, so they must be like some kind of way to do it. But
Yeah.
suspension of disbelief, you know, whatever. You kind of have to let that part go
Yeah.
because, like, what is she doing worrying about this one kid? Like, it's that's all I can think of. But that's really something that the show doesn't focus on. Even though it's focused upon, they don't focus on it. You know,
Hmm.
like if she's a Grim Reaper, but she doesn't reap any souls while she has this kid.
Right.
You just have to think of, you just have to like put that away. Um, but that's about it. It doesn't ruin the story though.
Hmm.
Um, that's all I can really think of. Man, so yeah, I would give it a, let's see, I'd say it's a good episode, not a great episode. It's good because it's
Well,
a
it's only
starter.
the first episode too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's the first episode, so
I hate to
it's just
say it.
kind of designed to kind of intrigue you a little bit to kind of catch you, be like,
The
oh, what is going on here, kind of thing,
Yeah,
sort of.
it's supposed to produce intrigue about what's the ordeal, what's the new world like, and how is he going to get back his life. How are the rest of the characters going to react to
Yeah.
his getting back to it? Because that's really what people are
Right.
looking for. If you have good characters, you could that logic of whatever's happening is sometimes to the wayside, especially when the rest of the writing and the characters are good.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, um, especially if you're waiting for like the reason why that's good character writing is because you want to see what other characters think. Like, what do they have to say about the situation?
Yeah.
You know, how do they react to the situation?
Right.
Because this is why I'm like, um, people just no matter what the series says, when a person does a decision in fiction, you apply it to a real life situation
Mm.
because it basically each part of fiction takes place on a grounded reality, no matter what the series is.
Hmm.
For example, Goku in Dragon Ball Z is a terrible father, but the series itself says he's a good father. I
Yeah.
don't care what the series says; he's not a good father,
Exactly.
and that's what I mean. It's like, but if there's if long as characters stay consistent, that's very good. Um,
Yeah.
so, anyways, I think that's it. Unless you noticed anything
No.
that I haven't covered or I'm missing
Uh,
or a flaw that you thought
no.
of.
No. Not really, David.
I hope this has been interesting because I want to do this with other shows. Um, maybe ones we haven't seen. I don't know. Like, I'd really need to watch some DS9 again, or maybe some. I always want to do that to like Avatar: Last Airbender or something like that. It's a
Uh,
it's a it's a good series, or Young Justice. I think you would like Young Justice. Like,
I probably would care more for Young Justice than I would for Last Airbender.
oh, Last Airbender's
I
great.
couldn't. I could
Oh,
not get into it. I tried to. I tried to watch
oh,
episodes. I just was like,
yeah.
nope.
I that's fine. Um, and I just like the character work that they do, but I can see people not liking it, even though the characters are good. Shame on you. Um, but yeah, Young Justice, especially if you know anything about the DC universe, it's like holy crap! Like there's a lot of people in there that I know,
Mm.
like Kid Flash, or like because it may seem like in fact I think it's better than Batman the animated series. Fight me. Um, Superman the animated series is also underrated. It gets way good. Man, I want to spoil the crap out of that series at the end when he just knocks the crap out of Darkseid, and and he lays him forth about his people on Apocalypse, because Apocalypse is the planet
Right.
which he comes from, and he puts him forth to his slaves, and he's like I'm going to give the choice of what to do with him on the slaves. And so he throws them in the pits or whatever, and they carry. Even though these people are whipped, burned, in slavery their whole lives, it's all they know. And they call him Lord, and they raise him up, and they take care of him. And I'm like, whoa. And he says to Superman, "I told you, Kal-El. Here I am God." Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Mm.
It's like it doesn't matter that they're slaves. That's all they know. Like,
Mm.
like he has, yeah, like he is a god to them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I spoiled that for you. If you want to, but still, it takes a while to get to that. He is so angry at Darkseid, though. That's why he wins. Like, so freaking mad. And that's how parts in Justice League animated series comes into action, where they have people from Superman's past, because of what he did, going against him. It's almost like it's connected or something. I love it when properties remember that. Oh yeah, we had a past, and they use it to their benefit. There's a lot of properties that don't do that, like the sequel trilogy of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, past doesn't matter. We can screw that up, right? Like, okay. And whenever somebody defends the sequel trilogy, it's like, but what about the original trilogy? What about the prequels? I was like, don't fall for it. Defend
Yeah.
the sequel trilogy from the sequel trilogy perspective. Do not go to the prequels. Don't fall into that trap. But the prequels are bad. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying the sequels are bad too. That's what you just said. Anyways, I'll probably cut that parts out at the end.
All right, man.
Uh, anyways, yeah, I'm gonna stop recording.